Broadcasting from Slough. Streaming around the world.
This is Mark Denholm on Atom Radio. Atom Radio. Oh, yeah. Playing the music you want to hear.
The podcast.
AtomRadio.co.uk.
Hello, welcome to episode 98 of the best bits of Atom Radio's Drive Time. It is another Saturday release on the podcast. If you are listening to it on Saturday, happy Saturday. Whatever day you're listening to it on, thank you so much for checking it out. The best bits from our Drive Time show. Did have a couple of days off this week for my son's birthday, so we have 3 days worth of best bits, including rip-off refreshments. You know what I mean. Strange twin dating arrangements. How does a matchmaker who's single make matches? Strange friendship groupings on wedding invites. The benefit of wrinkles during COVID-19. Things that children of today will never know. And we also have a dumb robber to tell you about. All that and more on the way in the next few minutes on the podcast this week on Atom Radio's Drive Time. Catch the show live Monday to Friday. If you miss any of it, you've always got the podcast every week. And if you sit back even and get ready, here we go with this week's episode. AtomRadio.co.uk. Costa, you know, the drinks chain. After months of lockdown, people aren't going back to Costa. They are going to be selling Costa for 32p a cup as part of the Eat Out to Help Out scheme. The government scheme means a 50% discount for meals out on up to £10 per person. Costa has confirmed that they are taking part. It'll be on Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays starting from next week, with the discount plus the temporary VAT cuts and a 25p discount for using your own reusable cup. A small cup of filter coffee will cost 32p instead of the usual £1. I think the question there more so should be, why is it so expensive in the first place? A flat white, I don't even know what that is. £2.70 before, £2.70 for a cup of coffee. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? Like me, I don't drink coffee. I only like coffee in coffee cakes and coffee cream sweets. I love coffee and that, but I would never sit down and drink a cup of coffee. I can't believe people pay like £2.70 for a cup of coffee. They got more money than sense, or are they really that thirsty?
Mark Denholm on Atom Radio. Atom Radio.
I did mention you can help choose the music you want to hear on Atom Radio by going to our website, atomradio.co.uk. Click on news and the very top item is pinned, and it is where you can select your 3 favourite songs. Thank you so much to Neil who's done that. I must admit, I didn't recognise any of the songs. I've had a little look and I found that they're all your own songs. That's why I didn't recognise them. So yeah, that's clever, Neil. Very clever. Submit your 3 favourite songs as being your own.
Yeah! Mark Denholm. AtomRadio.co.uk.
Hello, welcome to Tuesday's Drive Time on Atom Radio. It's 13 after 3, and this is Mark here in our little humble abode in Slough, just playing the music you want to hear. I'm slightly surprised. Shared yesterday, the world's most identical twins. They've told how they plan to get pregnant at the same time. Okay, now it's not gone weird yet. They're Australian twins, Anna and Lucy de Sink, I believe that is. They appeared on This Morning, where they spoke with Ruth and Eamon about how they want to have a baby at the same time. They're both 34, but the really weird thing about this is they are the world's most identical twins. They want to get pregnant at the same time, and they both have the same boyfriend. What does that do for the family tree? The boyfriend is Ben Byrne. Ben accepts us for who we are. It's been equal from day one, and there is no jealousy. I'm just... This whole thing has confused me.
Mark Denholm on Atom Radio.
You know, I told you earlier about the identical twins who want to have a baby at exactly the same time with their shared boyfriend. Well, in terms of dating, this is another one now. A professional matchmaker who is single is looking for a platonic partner to have a child with, as she embraces a new co-parenting trend where singles link up to have kids with no romance involved. Now, I have to say, if you go back far enough, myself and a very good friend had an agreement by that. If we were both single by a certain time, then we would have a child together. And as it turned out, neither of us were single at that time. But I'm just thinking here, 36-year-old Rachel Russo has spent 15 years engineering happy couple. She's from New Jersey, so she spent 15 years matchmaking other people, and yet she's single. Now, in terms of matchmaking, if you are completely and utterly single yourself, well, how does that look, on your references? When people are like signing up for your service, I don't know how much a matchmaking service costs, but if you're going to be matchmade, wouldn't you want to be matchmade by someone who is like in a happy relationship, rather than someone who is totally single and just makes money from putting people together? I'm confused again.
Mark Denholm on Atom Radio. Atom Radio.
I'm just thinking about these, like the twins with their identical, or not identical, the identical twins with their shared boyfriend, and the matchmaker who is single but is a matchmaker. I'm just thinking, right, in terms of me, I openly admit that I am very, very vain. Looks mean a lot to me. I openly admit that. But then as a single man, I don't think I could charge money for matchmaking people. Like, we've all done it, haven't we? Like, we've all introduced friends and stuff like that. We don't charge them for putting them together, do we? Hey, look, meet my friend. Oh, and you owe me 50 quid.
Mark Denholm on Atom Radio.
I hope you're well. It's Tuesday's drive time, and this is Mark here till 7. I've just realised I promised you I'd tell you about this wedding couple who have ranked their guests into different groups. Now, Mary Von, I don't know how you say this, A-U-E, Mary Von Uy, I don't know. She shared the important notice attached to the wedding invite on Twitter, writing this was included in an actual wedding invitation. The note explained how the venue is limited in the number of guests, so the couple were forced to split guests into groups to ensure we do not surpass our capacity limits, right? So here we go. You ready? Dear friends and family, let's do this. Dear friends and family, please understand our venue is limited in the number of guests we will be able to accommodate for our wedding day. As much as we would love to have each and every one of you join us on our big day, we're forced to split our guests into groups to ensure we do not surpass our capacity restrictions. Group A, please RSVP as soon as possible. Group B and C, please keep a close watch on our wedding website for notice that we have space available. Ouch. It does also conclude, by the way, if possible, we encourage our guests to hire a babysitter for the night and leave your children at home. As much as we love your kids, we're doing our best to make space for all the guests we can. We also ask that our single guests to forego their +1 if possible. We appreciate your understanding. Now, I would imagine getting married in 2020 in the coronavirus where you can only have a very limited number of guests is very difficult. But I'd just put my wedding off if it was me. If I wanted to invite my friends, I wouldn't say to them, right, you're in Group B, so you're on standby. If someone from Group A can't make it, then we'll fit you in. Then at the bottom it says, you are in Group A. Which is fine if you're in Group A, but imagine if you get the invitation and you're in Group B. You're not going to be best chuffed at that, are you? When you get an invitation to somebody's wedding and it says, yeah, do you know what? You're more of an acquaintance than a friend. So if somebody that we really want to come can't make it, then we'll see if we can squeeze you in instead. Don't bring your kids. Oh, and forget your +1 as well. Like, you know what? I just, if it was me and I saw that invitation, Group A and Group B and C, I would just say, actually, do you know what? I can't be bothered to come, and I don't think we're friends anymore.
Mark Denholm on Atom Radio. Atom Radio.
If you have to wear a face mask while you're out, if you smile at someone, they have no idea, do they, that you're smiling? Unless you happen to have wrinkles. If you have wrinkles, if you're a little bit older and you have wrinkles on your face, you get those smile lines, don't you? They'll show that you're smiling.
Mark Denholm.
AtomRadio.co.uk.
Bad news announced yesterday, the Argos catalogue. The huge thing, even bigger than a phone book, is going to stop being printed after almost 50 years. Now, if you are old enough to remember this, you would probably have made your Christmas list by scanning the Argos catalogue. And I'm not saying you would have filled in one of the order forms with one of their little pens in that, but you would have gone through, oh, I like that game, I like that toy. And that's how you would have done your Christmas list. Children of today will never know. The Argos catalogue has, at its prime, been printed 10 million times per episode. The last one was just 3. They're canning it. Children of today will never ever know. Probably also never ever know the little stubby pens and the sheet where you had to write in the number as well that you ordered on. It's all going to move to tech now and online and everything. Isn't that sad, eh? Like, in this millennium so far, off the top of my head, we've lost Concorde, the most iconic plane ever, back in 2003. We've lost the Boeing 747 thanks to coronavirus in 2020. And now the Argos catalogue as well.
Mark Denham on Atom Radio.
Friday, the 31st of July. Don't forget, when you get up early tomorrow, do your virtual pinch and a punch, because you should be 2 meters away from everyone. Speaking of social distancing, holidays, staycations and all that, Luxembourg yesterday added to the list of countries again where you'll have to quarantine from when you come in. And everyone is kind of saying, all right, don't worry, we'll have a staycation. Well, Dorset, fully booked. Devon, fully booked. Cornwall, fully booked. It looks like your summer holiday of 2020 is going to be an even closer to home staycation than you thought, mainly surrounded by your garden.
Mark Denham on Atom Radio. Atom Radio.
We must say hello to 42-year-old Daniel Healy. Daniel is possibly the worst bank robber ever. He passed a note to staff in Santander in Manchester saying, don't panic, put all the notes in the bag. I promise if you do as I say, no one will get hurt. Don't be a hero. I'm sorry to do this. The only issue was that he wrote the list of demands on a till receipt for vitamin tablets he'd been given at Holland & Barrett, 100 yards away. Somewhat easily identifiable then, his fingerprints were also found on a Tesco bag he'd asked the cashiers to fill with money, and the staff at Holland & Barrett scanned the CCTV and identified the man.
Mark Denham on Atom Radio.
I was telling you about that bank robber who managed to write his list of demands on a receipt for something he bought moments earlier 100 yards away and got identified that way. Idiot. I went out yesterday and I took a picture of myself, and I had my sunglasses on, I had a black baseball cap on, and I also had my face covering on. My mask, right, for coronavirus. And just looking at this photo, I tell you now, right, the only downside to it was I was wearing my own hat with my own logo, my own name on it, which may have given it away. But I tell you what, if I hadn't have done, I probably looked like I was off to go and rob some shops anyway. There's no way you could have identified me had it not been for the glaringly obvious name and logo on the hat.
Mark Denham on Atom Radio. Atom Radio.
But then that's what this whole hour is about, like the 80s. You imagine a child of today, maybe take a 10-year-old child of today and take their PS4 off them and give them an 80s console like an Atari or something like that. Take that off of them and see what they do. I remember as well, back in the 80s, you had those, I can't remember what they're called, they were little Nintendo ones, cannot remember what they were called. They were handhelds as well, not like a PSP today, but they were like handheld. And you had little dot matrix graphics on there, and they were black and white. You could get Mario, you could get Donkey Kong and all that. Imagine giving that to a child today, a 10-year-old child today. Here you are, here's your new video game. I bet they would not be happy with it.
Mark Denham on Atom Radio.
Working hard here at Atom Radio because I've just gone online and found a Chucky Egg simulator. If you had a BBC Micro in the 80s, you cannot have not played Chucky Egg. Everyone did.
atomradio.co.uk.
I loved my retro gaming. I genuinely did. Like, children of today will struggle, I would imagine. If you could find a working Atari and give that to a child of today, can you imagine? You know, like they have lifelike footage now all rendered out by their PlayStation 4s or Xboxes or whatever. Can you imagine giving them an Atari with like dot matrix style VGA graphics? How annoyed would they be? Maybe they could look in the Argos catalogue. If they pick up the last one ever, they could look for consoles and see what they can come up with. It may be there, it may help them or not. And your staycations. I genuinely think your staycation this year, you won't have to worry about postcards because I don't think you'll be actually leaving your own postcode. So yeah, like holidays in 2020 may indeed be very, very rare. Thank you so much for checking out episode 98 of the podcast. Next week, our last double-digit episode. Episode 99, one more to go, then it's 100. Thank you, as always, for checking out this week's episode of the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, tell your friends so they can listen to the show and subscribe to the podcast.
Atom Radio. Playing the music you want to hear.
Check out the show back on Monday on atomradio.co.uk, and don't forget you can subscribe on iTunes, on Spotify, and on Google as well. Keep yourself well.